So welcome to BryonyYoga. So hopefully you might have had time to read a little bit about me. I come to yoga from a very scientific point of view. I used to actually be a professional sailor, so sport has very much have been in my world for a very long time. I then turned into a sailing coach. I then turned into a primary school teacher because I really enjoyed the teaching element. And then it led me on a path to yoga, and now I'm managing to put my passion for teaching with my passion for yoga together. So we're very much going to be physically looking at the body and what we can do to stretch and open up the body, to get parts of your body moving that perhaps you don't do with any other exercise, and move a little more because we can't get outside as much. So we're going to start in a cross-legged seated position. So hopefully you've got a yoga mat, but it isn't essential. So come into cross-legged. Now, some people find cross-legged hard enough, especially men. Ladies' hips tend to open a little more, but men, you might be sitting here struggling. So either you may have a brick or you might just have a cushion, and you could just plop a cushion under the bottom, and that's going to lift you up nice and tall, and it's going to give you a much straighter spine. So I really would recommend sitting on something. If you're sitting here hunched and rounded, sitting on something really helps. So just bring your hands onto your knees, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to try to drop the shoulders a little bit away from the ears and just draw the shoulders back a little. Just have a little engagement through the belly as well. That's going to help support the position. We're going to do a breath whereby we count our breath and hold our breath. So breath work and breath is actually coming very much into the forefront at the moment. The James Nestor book, Breath, fantastic book. And it really is a hidden gem, breath. So we're going to work on our breath by counting an inhale of 3, holding the breath for 4, and exhaling for 5. So we're just going to do a few rounds of this, and it's perhaps something you could then practice again at home. So either your eyes can be open or closed, it's entirely up to you, or sometimes taking them downcast and softening them. When you're ready, take an inhale and count to 3. Hold the breath in and count to 4. And then let your air out, counting to 5. Of course, your count can be fast or slow. Continue this, inhaling for 3, holding for 4, and exhaling for 5. Three more rounds. When we hold the breath, a little bit of breath retention helps to encourage a longer exhale, longer count. It's really good for calming the body down, taking us into what we know as our parasympathetic part of our nervous system. And then next time you exhale, come back to a regular breath and open the eyes. So we're going to take a side bend. We're going to take the right hand out to the side of the right thigh, and we're going to sweep the left hand along the floor and then up towards the ceiling. We want to make sure we're firmly planted with both our seat bones on the ground. And as much as you're reaching that left hand up and over, I want to think about the side of the ribs here, the left side, and actually take them to the left as you lean to the right. The ribs are going left as the arm reaches right. Now you could bend into that right hand if you want to go a little deeper, but it isn't necessary to do that because if you're pushing the ribs to the left, you'll be getting that side bend. So we're trying to open up here between the ribs, the intercostal muscles. Take some deep breaths now. See if you can feel the ribs. So really inhale to where you feel the stretch. And then those long, slow exhales, softening in the shoulders and softening in the facial muscles. One more big, deep breath. Big inhale into the ribs, exactly where you're feeling this stretch. And that slow exhale. Bring that left hand down. Bring it over to the other side. Left hand outside of left thigh. Sweep the right hand along the floor. Lift it up. Reach that right hand over your head and up. And then watch the difference. The ribs are going to the right. So as much as we're reaching, the ribs are going to the right. We're trying to get that space here. Let's deepen the breath. So big inhales. And we can send the breath laterally, so we can send the breath under the armpit into the space where we're stretching. And then the long, slow exhales. Couple more here. Next time you exhale, bring the hand in front of you. So you've got your legs crossed, note which shin is in front, bring the hands onto the floor in front of you, and this may be a stretch already, just reaching this far, or you might be able to go a little further, reaching the fingers forward. You may even, if you've got good flexibility here, be able to come down to your forearms and then bow the head down. And if you're on your forearms, keep your elbows nice and close to your shins. Here in this rounded position, see if you can let the head just hang. Again, softening eyes and jaw. You should be feeling the outer hips stretch out here. Let's bring those hands back, lift the body up, change the cross to the other side. So you're going to bring your other leg in front. Bring the hands here. Usually this isn't your preferred leg because instinctively you would have put your preferred leg in front when you came to cross legs, so it may feel a little more challenging. See if you can get lower, and then see if you can come onto the forearms with those upper arms touching your shins. Bow the head down, let the head hang. And you can use that exhale to deepen into this stretch, energizing the chest down towards your shins. Feeling it in the hips, feeling it in the outer hips. And then bring yourself back up. I'm going to stretch our legs forward. Just see I've changed to face the other way, stretching the legs forward. And for many of us, sitting with our legs straight is quite challenging because we've got tight hamstrings, especially if you perhaps run or cycle. They may be a little tighter. So just bring the hands behind you, fingertips facing back. I call this a scaffolding hand. So we're up on our thumbs and up on our fingertips, and just push into the hands and try to lengthen the spine here and push the weight a little forward. Draw the shoulder blades back. And with our chins, check that we're not sticking the chin out. Really want to think about posture. Draw the chin back and imagine the crown of the head lifting. Draw the belly in. It should feel quite hard to hold this. Tighten both your thighs, pressing the backs of the knees down to the ground. And then release. You're going to bend your right knee, and you're going to lift up that right foot and take it over the top of the left leg. We're going to turn towards this right leg. So our left arm, the inside elbow, is going to try and hug the inside of the knee. And then the right arm, you revolve to the right, is going to come behind you and back onto that scaffolding. So you're revolving towards that thigh, and you can squeeze the thigh in towards the chest. So the more you hold the right thigh towards the belly, the shortening of this distance, the more you get the stretch into the outer hip, and the more you turn, the more we're trying to get the stretch and the twist in the thoracic, the mid-spine. With your right shoulder, just have a look. So there's an internal rotation, or we can try to externally rotate. So turn that right hand clockwise and draw that right shoulder blade a little flatter on the back. Lengthen the neck again and just revolve the neck, looking over towards the right shoulder. Again, we've got great muscular work going on in that left arm, keeping that thigh in, and a good stretch and twist. Let's release it there. Let's release that right leg down. We're going to do the same on the left side. Left leg bends, left leg steps over, opposite arm hugs the left thigh as close as you can to the belly, and then now you revolve to the left and the left hand comes behind you. In Sanskrit, this pose is Matsyendrasana. In English, seated twist. So sometimes the Sanskrit words are easier and sometimes the English words are easier, and I kind of do whatever. Mostly I use the English words unless they're too hard and too complicated, and then I use the Sanskrit. Can you sit up a little taller here? Can you draw your left shoulder a little more open, a little more external rotation? Can you squeeze that left thigh a little tighter into your body? Holding. And then releasing. We're going to come onto all fours now, so you could just swing your legs to the side, bring yourself onto all fours. So setting up in tabletop position, knees are going to be under the hips, wrists are in line with elbows and shoulders. Sometimes it's more comfortable on our wrists to revolve the hands out very slightly, so taking them out slightly, so maybe index finger pointing towards the top corners of your mat. So in a nice sturdy tabletop, nice flat back, a little bit of engagement to the belly, chin again slightly tucked here. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, round in the spine and hold it there. Hold in this rounded position, cat pose. Bring attention to shoulder blades, so try and draw the shoulder blades apart, pushing into the arms. A protraction of the shoulders. Draw the belly right up towards the spine, really good for the abdominal muscles as you hug belly button up. Pelvis is tucked under. Neck is relaxed, no tension in the neck. And then come back to that tabletop neutral. We're going to go the opposite way into cow pose. So we're going to drop the belly now down towards your mat. Lift your seat bones up towards the ceiling. And then squeeze the shoulder blades together, looking forward. Now, cat-cow is a really common exercise through Pilates, yoga, many forms. Warm up the spine, cat-cow, taking the spine into flexion and extension. Really want us to focus on not only the lower back, because we tend to have used this a little more, it's a little more mobile, but also our mid-back, our thoracic, so thinking about between shoulder blades and just below. We're going to connect the breath here. So we take an inhale here in cow pose, and as you exhale, round into cat pose, so round the spine. Let all the air out. Move slowly, move to a nice slow breath, inhaling, slowly coming into your cow pose. Focus on trying to breathe in the right way and exhale to round. So yoga is as much about the breath as it is the movement. So connecting the two, mindfully moving, inhaling and exhaling into the rounded cat position. Inhaling into cow pose. Taking one more here, big exhale. And then a big inhale. Come back to neutral. And then come back to kneeling, hero's pose, kneeling. Bring the knees so they're touching one another. So some people find kneeling really hard. Just the act of kneeling, you're getting a stretch on the top of the feet. You can put something between your heels and your seat if that helps. We're going to start to open up the chest. So many of us at the moment are spending longer periods of time sat at a desk. So we're more rounded in the back. And as the back rounds, the neck compensates by going the other way, driving, typing. So we need to try and open through the chest. So we're going to draw the hands behind us and clasp the hands. If you can, bring the heel of the hand together as well, so the whole hand is clasped. You can have a nice bend to your elbows and the hands can be resting on the back for now. Broaden the chest and bring the shoulder blades closer together. Watch the chin. We don't want it sticking out. We want to think about pressing the back of the head backwards. We're now going to draw the hands closer to the floor, but you're still keeping a little bend to the elbows. And then think about drawing the upper arms together, squeezing the upper arms. Then drop the tops of shoulders a little more away from the ears. Keep squeezing the upper arms. And now we're going to lift the chin up a little. So we're looking up, keeping it tucked. So we're not sticking it out, we're still keeping it tucked, but we're broadening in the chest, looking up. Hold the tummy muscles in here. Squeeze those shoulder blades. Take a really big inhale into the chest. And as you exhale, let everything go and relax. Give it all a shake. Child's pose in yoga. So child's poses are going to become your friend for the whole way through this next 6 weeks. If ever you need a rest, we come into child's pose. So our knees are together and thighs are together. We're going to bring our belly onto our thighs and reach our arms forward. Now, head can either go onto a cushion or a block, or perhaps you can get your head onto the floor here, so forehead touching the ground. Child's pose is giving you a nice stretch to the back. There's options for child's pose, either having your arms stretched out as they are now, or you can try bringing the arms back, allowing the shoulders just to round, and just relaxing forearms and elbows onto your mats. Now, child's pose is supposed to be a restful pose, but coming from a sport and being more of a muscular build, when I started yoga many years ago, I used to sit in child's pose in agony, thinking, how is this supposed to be comfortable? So some of you may be sitting there thinking, what, is this supposed to be a rest? Well, we're going to try a few variations to see if you can make it a little more restful. This may be really comfy to you. You may want something under the head, and that is totally fine. And now we're going to try a different variation to see if it feels better for you and your body. So bring the arms back forward, lift the head up a little, and you're going to widen the knees just a little so they're nice and comfortable in your hips. You may even want to just move the hips side to side. And now bring the body down again and reach the arms forward. This may have got worse or it may have got better. All our bodies are so perfectly different. So what works for one of you may not work for another. So just feel it. Just feel how this feels. Sometimes I may cue a wide-kneed child's pose, and other times cue a narrow-kneed child's pose. And sometimes it's a choice. This works a little differently into the hips, not quite such a round of the spine. Try releasing the arms behind you in this wide-kneed child's pose, sometimes a little trickier. You could even hold onto your heels and just let the shoulders round. My upper arms are resting slightly on my knees, but again, it depends on how wide you've got them. I think it's really important to note that there isn't really a right or wrong with so many poses. I'll cue what's safe, and the rest really is about a feeling. Watching yoga poses on Instagram is a little soul-destroying because we all look different. Poses are different for each and every one of us. There is no perfect pose. Let's release the arms forward, lift the head up again. We're going to turn our child's pose into puppy pose. So we're going to bring our weight up, narrow the knees again to hip distance, and keep our hips above our knees. We're going to walk the hands forward, so keeping hips above the knees. We're going to melt the chest down towards the mat and again bring the forehead onto it. Sometimes this feels a little restrictive on the nose, just bear with it. So this gives us a really big shoulder stretch. Our seat bones are lifting up towards the ceiling and our chest center is drawing down towards the ground. Here we allow our thoracic, our mid-spine, which I said earlier is that rounded and sometimes becomes a little more rounded when we're tending a lot of time sitting. This is giving it a good stretch the other way. So great for posture, great to do at the end of the day when you get an achy back having been sitting too long. I want you to use your breath now. So our exhale of our breath is about releasing, about easing into it. So as you exhale, see if you can drop that center of your chest, sometimes known as our heart center in yoga, down towards your mat, deepening into the stretch. Take 2 more breaths like this. The inhale, you'll feel a little expand, a little lift. And then the exhale, you'll feel it dropping down. You may have a little movement, you may have lots of movement, you may have no movement at all. Your body, just work with it. After a couple of breaths, lift up and walk the hands back to tabletop. So we're going to take a couple of lunges now and just begin to stretch out the hips. So we're going to lunge and we're going to take our right foot forward. So just adjust the hands however you need to step the right foot forward. Bring your hands onto your thigh. It may feel a little wobbly. You could always separate feet and knees to hip distance to make sure you've got a nice sturdy base. And just to cue the safety of a lunge, you want to watch your front knee. We don't want it to go much beyond the ankle. If you've got no knee problems, having your back knee on the ground, it's okay if it goes a little further, but if you've got sensitive knees, make sure it really doesn't go beyond that front ankle. We're going to take the weight forward, so if you need to, what I call worm the toes forward. When you teach on Zoom, you have this great art to worm your feet places and nobody really even notices that you're worming. So worm the feet forward if you need to, and then really melt those hips forward. So this is about a stretch to our psoas muscle, our hip flexor, on the left-hand side here. Lengthen your spine. Push your hands into your thigh and lengthen the spine here. If you can't feel the hip, you perhaps will feel it in our next move, but you could think about finding more space in the lower back. So a little tuck in the pelvis, tailbone getting a little heavier down towards the mat. Holding here. So hips get very tight when you're stressed, and again, tight when you're sat in a seated position all the time. So it's a lovely one to stretch out the front of the hip. Let's take our hands now and take them up towards the ceiling. Really straight arms, reach the fingertips up, and then drop the shoulders a little away from the ears. Holding in this as a low crescent lunge. One more breath here. And then bringing the hands down by your side. Watch what I do here. I'm taking my weight back. So bringing my hip, my left hip, more on top of my left knee. And now with my pelvis, I'm going to tuck it right under. I'm going to squeeze my left seat, and sometimes actually physically touching here to make sure that you've tightened that left seat. Imagine that somebody's almost taken a punch to the stomach. Draw your belly right back. We're going to round as if we're rounding over an imaginary ball here. You should feel the stretch now, maybe still in the hip flexor, or go right down into that left thigh. Holding here. And then relax the arms down by the side. Take that weight back forward into our forward low crescent lunge, but this time we're going to squeeze the arms back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Nice open chest position. We're going to flow just with 3 breaths between the two. This part of the lunge is our inhale, so take a big inhale here. And as you exhale, gives you a great opportunity to really hug that belly in, take that rounded position and squeeze your left seat. As you inhale, the weight comes forward, the chest opens, the arms reach back, shoulder blades together. Exhale, tuck under and round. One more here. Inhale, weight forward, squeeze. Exhale, tuck under and round. Bring your hands down to the floor again. Step that right foot back to all fours. Just have a little bit of a wiggle here. Give it a shake. Move a little in the spine, maybe some circles. And then we'll take the other side, stepping our left foot forward. Again, you can always worm the toes if need be. Bringing those hands onto the thighs and lifting up. Lengthening the spine here, lengthening the neck, specifically the back of the neck. Trying to feel the stretch in the right psoas muscle. Remember, if you can't quite feel it, maybe think about a little tuck with the pelvis, a little heavy tailbone. Chest is nice and lifted. Let's extend our hands up towards the ceiling. Reach the hands, nice and active, all the way from fingertips, all the way down the arms. And then the tops of the shoulders, just draw them away from the ears. Make sure you've got no tension in the neck. We're working our front leg as well, working the thigh and the glute muscles to hold us here. Good for ankle stability as well on that front leg. And let's drop the arms down, and that move of taking the weight backwards so that our right hip's a little more stacked on top of our right knee. You can always bring the front foot back if you need to. So here we take that big tuck under. It's as if you're getting lots of space between the vertebrae of the lower back. Draw the belly in, as if someone's giving you a big punch in the stomach and you've gone, back. Squeeze that right seat muscle. That squeezing of the seat muscle just puts the cherry on the top, and you can feel it stretching all the way down. And then a big round of the upper back, all the way as if you're over a giant beach ball here. holding. Keep that squeeze. Every twitch of the ankle at the front is great. It's just sending all the messages, helping with muscle stability. And let's draw the hands down and take the weight forward. So we squeeze the shoulder blades open through the chest. Now when we have these open chest positions, they send a really good message to the brain of confidence. I've got this, I'm under control. So when you're feeling a little stressed over at work, if you just stand or come into a lunge like this and just squeeze the shoulders, smile, because that sets off another chemical reaction, everything's good. Take a big in-breath. The breath also connects. It's the inhale, which is energizing us. And then round as you exhale, tuck under, squeeze that belly back. Inhale, smile, open the chest, lift the heart center, and exhale, round and tuck under. Final one, inhale, squeeze, open the chest, and exhale to round. Bring those hands down, bring it back to all fours. We're just going to take a little moment on our back, so rolling over, coming onto your back. Just hug your knees into your chest. Have the thighs together and squeeze them in. So we'll do more and more about how we can connect the breath to our emotions and the control we actually have over it over the next 6 weeks. But we just think very simply as the in-breath being the energizing part and the exhale being the release, being the relax. The longer the exhales, the more we're trying to be relaxed and at ease. The bigger the inhales, the more we're trying to energize. With your knees pinned together, imagine you've got a pencil in between them, and just take some circles as if you were drawing circles on your ceiling. Just massaging out the lower back here. They could be big circles, they could be small circles, work within your limits and what feels good in your body. Let's change the direction of our circles. And then we're going to bring our feet down onto the ground. One last move before we take a little relaxation. Have the feet hip distance apart and nice and close to our seat. The palms of our hands are going to be facing down, so they offer us a little bit of support. We've got a nice neutral spine, which means maybe a natural gap underneath the lower back. And we're just going to push into the feet and lift the hips up to a bridge. Just going to hold here in our bridge, not too high at the moment. So there's lots of different styles of bridge. And I sort of think about a Pilates bridge, and in this kind of lower length, you're more in a Pilates style bridge. Sometimes I'll teach Pilates bridge because that offers something as well. But we're going to come into more of a yogic bridge. And this is about opening the back and bringing the back a little into a back bend. Back bends are really healthy for the spine and also really promote invigoration, happiness. So from here, lift the hips as high as you can. Squeeze your seat muscles. So make sure both your seat muscles are really squeezed. Keep your neck long and still. So try not to move the neck at all. You come to a point where you can't really get much higher. So now you're going to walk your shoulder blades a little underneath you. So you kind of walk the shoulders one at a time underneath you. And you may notice that the arms have flipped up. The thumbs have flipped up towards your seat or towards the ceiling. From here, you might, and you may not, depends on the width of your chest and your back, you might be able to clasp the hands. If you can't, don't worry, just keep thumbs facing up. And then maybe if you have clasped them, or you might even be able to walk under a little more. Chin now is really close to your chest. Push into the feet a little more, squeeze the glutes a little more, and allow the chest to come as close as you can to your chin. Not only stretching out the neck, which is why we don't move the neck in this position, but having a lovely big back bend, plus loads of muscular work going onto thighs and glutes. Let's release the hands if you do have them clasped. Walk the shoulders wide again. Bring the hips down slowly, all the way down to your mat. And then hug your knees in for a counter stretch. Yoga bridge pose, really high, all about opening up that chest and the back. Have a rock side to side with your knees. That feels really good as well. come into relaxation pose in yoga, Savasana. Stretch your feet forward, allow the toes to roll out. So you're going to need to widen your feet so they're a little wider than your hips. And then you allow the toes just to flop out to the sides. This time we want our palms facing up. So walk the shoulder blades underneath you again and roll the palms of the hands so they're facing to the ceiling. It may mean the arms need to be a little wider. Lengthen your neck. We're just going to be here for a minute in this relaxation pose. I'm going to do a quick guided relaxation for you. So relax your eyes, soften your facial muscles. Bring awareness to your forehead. See if you can soften the forehead. Bring awareness to the eyes. See if you can relax your eyes back in their sockets. Softening now your jaw. Relaxing your shoulders. Allowing the shoulders to melt back onto the mat. As you take an exhale, see if you can let the arms become heavy on the ground. As you exhale, feel the belly and chest falling and releasing all the muscles in the back. Softening your seat muscles. Check they're relaxed. Sure, ease the hips. As you exhale, relax both your thigh muscles. And let the legs become heavy. Tune into that exhale. And every time you breathe out, relax your whole body a little deeper. Let the whole body become heavy on your mat. Soft and at ease. Now you're in your own homes. You can stay here in this relaxation pose known as Savasana, or you can begin to deepen your breath, taking a larger conscious inhale, maybe even sighing out through the mouth. Bring some movement back to fingers and toes. Draw the feet together and reach the arms above the head for a whole body stretch. It's always best to roll onto your right side and then push up through your hands, coming back up to that cross-legged seated position that we started in. Let's bring our hands together at our heart center, close the practice, saying Namaste, which is just showing respect. It means seeing the good in people. Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much for practicing with me.